My name is Lindiwe Kumalo, and I'm the acting secretary of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. I wish to welcome you this day to this press conference hosted by Honorable Chairperson Solomon Ayele Deso, who's the chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. This press conference follows the conclusion of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, a 68th ordinary session, which held for 21 days since the 14th of April, 2021. Through this press conference, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights wishes to share with its stakeholders, including the media, the highlights and the outcomes of its session. The order of business for this press conference will be as follows. First, I will yield the floor and invite Honorable Chairperson Solomon Ayele Deso to offer a brief on the key outcomes of the 68th ordinary session of the African Commission. After this, I will open the floor for stakeholders, the press, journalists across the world, to interact with Honorable Dr. Deso on a range of themes and subjects that he may wish to share with you today. Thereafter, I will invite Honorable Dr. Deso to make final remarks and also to close the conference. As we begin, I would like to observe all protocols as I acknowledge the presence at this conference of Their Excellencies, representatives of member states who have registered in advance to be with us. You're welcome, Your Excellencies. Also, I wish to recognize delegates from other African Union organs. We similarly welcome you and appreciate your collaboration and support to the African Commission. I'm also pleased to announce that as at the start of this conference, 25 media houses, civil society organizations, and citizen journalists from across the world have registered in advance to join us at this press conference and briefing. I would like, therefore, to guide the interaction as follows. I would like to invite stakeholders who have not registered their questions ahead of this conference to send their questions in the chat group on the screen. You may do so, you may submit your questions in French, in English, in Portuguese, or Arabic. We have in attendance a team that will translate your questions so that Honorable Dr. Deso, Chairperson of the Commission, can then respond to your questions. Finally, I wish to request all panelists connected to the panel to mute their microphones unless the floor has been yielded to them. I also wish to remind all panelists to switch off any additional devices that may be in the room in which you are in order to avoid feedback echo should you be given the opportunity to take the floor. Honorable Chairperson Deso, it is my pleasure to invite you at this stage to deliver your highlights and brief of the African Commission's 68th ordinary session. You have the floor, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Lindiwe, Acting Secretary of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and also Master of Ceremony for this press briefing. I would like to start off by welcoming members of the press for this press briefing of the 68th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. The Commission and personally myself extend our gratitude for the honorable work that you do in informing, enlightening, and also shedding light on a wide range of issues affecting the public on the African continent and beyond. This I say in also recognizing the World Press Freedom Day that was observed yesterday. I would like also to give a bit of introduction about the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. This is the premier human rights body of the African Union. It is a treaty-based human rights body established under the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which is the treaty that established the African human rights system, adopted in Nairobi, Kenya in 1981. So this year marks the 40th anniversary of this landmark human rights treaty, which has contributed tremendously to the richness of international human rights. The African Commission has been in operation since 1987 with its secretariat based in Banjul, the Gambia. The Commission has the mandate for the promotion and protection of human and people's rights enshrined in the African Charter and such other human rights treaties interested to the monitoring of the African Commission. So the Commission, within this framework, of course, engaged in monitoring the state of human rights in Africa and undertakes various activities to address human rights issues on the continent through various tools at its disposal. It's made up of 11 commissioners who are elected by the African Union, but serving in their on an expert basis in their personal capacities rather than as representatives of states. The Assembly, these 11 members are responsible for monitoring the human rights situation of about all the states parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And they also are responsible for various thematic issues on human rights. For example, we have a special rapporteur dealing with freedom of expression and access to information, and hence monitoring the state of press freedom on the African continent. You can find, for example, the statement that the special rapporteur issued yesterday, marking the World Press Freedom Day and the issues of concern that the Commission raised in that context as far as the protection of the press on the African continent is concerned. This 68th Ordinary Session was convened virtually on account of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has brought together a total of 454 delegates who attended the session. Of these, 72 delegates were from 15 states parties, 6 delegates representing African Union organs, 44 representing national human rights institutions. These are independent human rights institutions established by the constitutions of respective countries, 4 delegates representing international and intergovernmental organizations, such as the ICRC, 196 representing African and international non-governmental organizations with observer status with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, 38 representing other observers, 2 of whom were actually from the media. Representatives of 7 states, parties to the African Charter, made statements on the human rights situation of their respective countries, providing update on some of the latest developments relating to human rights in their countries. These include the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, the Republic of Angola, Arab Republic of Egypt, the State of Eritrea, the Republic of Malawi, the United Republic of Tanzania, Republic of Mozambique. It must also include the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia in this list. So it would be 8 rather. Representatives of 7 national human rights institutions also made statements on the human rights situation in their respective countries, namely NHRIs from Algeria, Cameroon, Ethiopia, Mali, Rwanda, Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, and Zambia. One international organization, namely the International Committee of the Red Cross, also delivered a statement in accordance with the resolution of the Commission on the criteria for granting and maintaining observer status to human rights NGOs in Africa. The Commission granted observer status to 7 NGOs from various parts of the continent. I have to indicate my bias for one of them, which is Akina Mama wa Africa, an NGO based in Kenya, whose central objective includes, among other things, addressing the human rights oppression that results from patriarchy on the African continent, and specifically in Kenya. Indeed, patriarchy remains to be a very serious impediment for the enjoyment of equal rights by women and girls on the African continent. The granting of these 7 observer status to these 7 NGOs would bring the total number of NGOs with observer status with the African Commission to 535. The Commission also processed a number of complaints relating to violations of human rights by states parties, including the finalization of 2 complaints with respect to 2 states parties, whom the Commission found to be in violation of a number of human rights. The Commission adopted resolutions on the human rights situation of several states and on thematic issues, including on the situations in Benin and Mozambique. During the course of the deliberations in this 6 states organization, the Commission, from the various statements and reports that it received, the updates that it provided, as well as the analysis that members of the Commission presented as part of their activity reports, various positive developments can be discerned. Some of these relate to, for example, ratification of new human rights instruments, such as the ratification by Sudan of the Convention on the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances, which actually strengthens the legal instruments available at the national level for protecting people from enforced disappearances. Others include the adoption of new laws, such as, for example, a media law adopted in Ethiopia during the course of February 2021. Again, an act of parliament by Tanzania, making Kiswahili the legal language of the court and of writing legislation in the country. This is a very welcome development which coheres with the theme, the African Union theme of the year on arts, culture, and heritage. The strengthening of the human rights protection under the new constitution of Algeria, including the extended protection given to the right to life. Other similar developments relating to, for example, the granting of citizenship to 1,670 members of the Shona community and 1,300 stateless people of Rwanda origin by the government of Kenya. The publication of penal code in Angola explicitly criminalizing torture and ill treatment. The release of the Marikana massacre report, investigation report, the decision by some states to commute death sentences to life, such as, for example, Tanzania, Niger, and Zambia, among others. The Commission also welcomes with appreciation the first peaceful and democratic transfer of power in Niger, and indeed the decision by the High Court of Kenya to uphold the ban on female genital mutilation, and the amendment of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1991 of Sudan, which again provides for explicit prohibition of torture by security forces, among others. Also, the ongoing development of a national human rights strategy in Egypt. These are some of the various positive developments that have been observed in the course of the intersession period since the Commission had its last session in December 2020. The deliberations of the session also highlighted a number of concerning trends in the sphere of human rights, some of which relate to, for example, the state of enjoyment of human rights by women and girls. In this respect, the Commission, while noting some of the positive developments, such as the increase in the participation of women in decision-making structures in countries such as Angola and Niger, as reported during this session, we remain extremely concerned about the deplorable state of oppression and violence to which women and girls in many parts of the continent are subjected, including as a result of conflict, whereby women and girls are subjected to some of the most horrific acts of violence, such as sexual violence, in some cases with reports of use of rape as weapon of war. These are acts that the Commission deplores and condemns in the strongest terms possible. The Commission is also concerned about excessive use of force by security forces. This has been a recurrent issue about which the Commission has issued statements as a thematic area of concern, but also with respect to specific incidents relating to individual countries. During the intersession period, the Commission had issued various statements in this respect, but expresses its concern about incidents that happened, particularly in the context of people exercising the right to assembly and protest. And incidents of excessive use of force have been reported in Angola, Benin, recently in Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, Senegal, South Africa, Niger, Togo, Tunisia, Uganda, Kenya, among others, for example. The issue of extrajudicial arbitrary executions and killings is also a major concern. This has been reported in various countries, such as Cameroon, Niger, Mali, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya as well. These are issues of major concern for the Commission, in respect of which the Commission urges states parties to adopt measures reviewing existing laws and practices that have given space for the perpetration of these acts of extrajudicial or arbitrary executions and killings, and to undertake investigations in order to hold those responsible accountable. The trend of the democratic deficit on the continent that we have reported about during the course of 2020 remains a major challenge, compounded by the chilling effects of the COVID-19 regulation measures, which have undermined, among others, freedom of expression, association, and assembly, thereby further weakening the civic space in many countries on the continent. We have witnessed concerning trends of reports of arbitrary detention, assault, and intimidation against journalists, civil society actors, human rights defenders, leaders and members of opposition parties in many countries. And this, the Commission considers this to be a very serious area of concern and wishes to reaffirm that freedom of expression and civic participation are indispensable to an open and democratic society, and that the stifling of dissent is nothing short of a recipe for instability and conflict. We also have received information about continuing displacement of people from their homes and lands, among others, due to violence and conflict. It is indeed with a great deal of anguish that the Commission learned about the spike in the level of displacement, for example, in Cabo Delgado province of Mozambique, where the number of people displaced is reaching the 1 million mark. And here, of course, it's very important to ask difficult questions. Why these incidents of displacement, acts of conflict, or situations of conflict continue to happen and expand in 2021, thereby making the continent as it was in 1990s, a continent in which millions of people, including women and children, are forced into a drifting life as refugees and internally displaced persons, deprived of their means of livelihood, human dignity, and hope. The Commission also continues to feel concerned about highly securitized, even militarized approach to compliance with COVID-19 regulation measures, particularly the misuse of these regulation measures, thereby undermining the civic space and the use of excessive force, arbitrary detention, or arrest of various sectors of society. The Commission is concerned about the socioeconomic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and the risk of reversal of some of the socioeconomic gains that have been achieved over the course of the past 2 or so decades. The Commission remains extremely concerned about lack of access to COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 vaccine remains to be the most important arsenal in order to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic, both here on the continent, but also across the world. But without access to COVID-19 vaccine, this couldn't be realized. The result is that people, including essential service providers, such as healthcare workers, doctors, are paying with their health and with their lives in an environment where the continent faces severe shortage of healthcare workers. The Commission therefore urges, as the session highlighted, the African Union and member states of the African Union to enhance their campaign for the temporary waiver of patent relating to the COVID-19 vaccine in order to enable generic manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccine on the continent for a public and easy access to the vaccine, which is at the moment restricted on account of these restrictions relating to patent, which have created artificial scarcity. The Commission have also observed that the situation of socioeconomic rights, particularly as they relate to their provision by private security, by private actors, is causing difficulties, particularly to the poor. Some private companies providing basic necessities such as water, electricity, education, healthcare, are actually exploiting the poor with high price at by providing very low quality services. And it remains under the African Charter that states bear primary responsibility for providing the basic necessities of life to their population. And it's contrary to the African Charter that people are subjected to conditions of life that doesn't cohere with human dignity. These are some of the major highlights from the 60 States Organization, distinguished members of the press. I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, for your briefing of the press and stakeholders present today on the highlights and outcomes of the 68th Ordinary Session. The floor is now open for questions or comments on the Chairperson's briefing. As I indicated, stakeholders are invited to pose their questions in the chat group on the screens. And on the basis of this, I would then give Honorable Chairperson an opportunity to respond. Whilst we wait for questions to be posed in the chat group, I have a few pre-registered questions, Honorable Chair, that I will pose to you for response and interaction with. The first is from Dr. Sandra Adong, Senior Civilian Policy Officer and Head of Post-Conflict Reconstruction and Development Unit within the African Union Commission. This question seeks your response in terms, given your mandate with regard to conflict, matters relating to conflict. She seeks opportunities for the implementation of the AU post-conflict and reconstruction and development policy, and asks the question, what are the opportunities for the African Union Commission to collaborate with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights in the implementation of this policy? Dr. Adong also then asks whether a technical level engagement could be hosted for the two organs to engage on this important issue relating to conflict. You have the floor, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much for that question. The Commission has adopted a study on human rights in conflict situations. On the basis of that study, it has initiated engagement with the African Union, the wider African Union system, including with the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, with whom the Commission held 2 sessions during 2020 and 2019. The Commission also engaged with Peace Support Operations Division in helping with the review of the African Union's experience with respect to human rights and international humanitarian compliance in peace support operations. The Commission, within the framework of, for example, the decisions of the PAC in its 866 session and 953rd session, is engaging with the African Union with respect to various areas that are covered in those decisions, including relating to early warning, relating to issues of investigation of human rights violations. You also have something that is, directly of interest to PCRD, related to PCRD, the engagement of the Commission with respect to transitional justice in Africa, which the Commission has been following and supporting in various countries. So there is already a platform and indeed a mechanism for this engagement between the Commission and the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the AU Commission with respect to the implementation of post-conflict reconstruction and development policy of the AU, which of course, among others, has a human and people's rights pillar as part of the PC, as part of the policy. So the Commission monitors the human rights situation not only of countries in conflict, but also those coming out of conflict in order to support post-conflict processes. And the Commission tried to join the AU Commission, for example, in supporting the Gambia with respect to the National Human Rights Commission with respect to transitional justice process. So we look forward to engaging, including at the technical level, in order to take this forward in other settings as well.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, for that response. And we hope that we will hear more from Dr. Adong in the days to come. I encourage again stakeholders to register their questions in the chat group on the screen if they should wish to raise any questions. But in the meantime, I would like to move to the second question that was pre-registered ahead of this conference. And this comes from the Uganda Journalists Union. They wish to ask of Honorable Chair about the state reporting process, you know, how country reports are submitted and how public-spirited organizations are able to submit reports or reflections on the reports. This is the question, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. The Commission, during the course of this session, received the state reports of Niger and Malawi, for which we very much acknowledge with appreciation the receipt of these state reports. The state reports, according to our practice, are required to be prepared by the states concerned with active participation of the public, including civil society organizations and the media. The Commission obviously encourages the media to cover the process of the preparation of the state reports, but also, importantly, the delivery and presentation of those state reports, thereby bringing back home some of the issues that the Commission had highlighted in the course of engaging with the state party concerned. That's what we did, for example, during this session with Niger, highlighting a number of positive developments that have been registered, but also many other areas with respect of which the Commission had expressed concern for the attention of the state in order to fulfill their obligations under the African Charter. The same thing with Malawi. The Commission is open in order to engage the media in providing information on these issues. The public recording of the process of review is on the website of the Commission. You can also find it on the Twitter handle of the Commission. The reports of the states parties is also available. Another avenue for participation is the submission of shadow reports. These are reports that civil society organizations prepare on the state of human rights in those countries concerned. as part of that, media can contribute tremendously by providing information, highlighting particularly areas of concern relating to the media and the press, as well as journalists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I see no hands in the chat so far, so I will move to the third question that has been asked ahead of this meeting. And this comes from Mr. Toure, University of Surrey in the United Kingdom. The question relates to your views on discrimination on the basis of age. You'd like to know, what you think about discrimination on the basis of age, where an applicant perhaps applies for a position in a public institution and is informed that he is not allowed to apply for such a position. So generally speaking, discrimination on the basis of being too old to apply for a position. Honorable Chair, your views on this matter.
Thank you very much for that question. One of the issues that is prohibited under Article 2 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights is discrimination on the basis of age. And in that respect, what that entails is basically the opportunities that are availed for other sectors of society have to be availed for people of old age as well. Of course, the prohibition of discrimination is subject to limitations. All right, but those limitations have to be justifiable. We say discrimination exists when there is difference in treatment between one category of people and other category of people similarly situated, where that difference is unjustifiable and doesn't have legal basis. That is when we say discrimination exists. Where there is a legal basis and justifiable public reasons for treating certain category of people differently from others, that may not amount to discrimination. So as far as the specific case of employment opportunity is concerned, it therefore merits specific investigation in order to make a determination whether or not the employment that we are speaking about is, for example, age sensitive. If it is age sensitive, and if there are public reasons for limiting those job opportunities by age, it is only after doing that analysis that you may end up making a determination on whether or not discrimination on the basis of age had taken place. But generally, the standard principle of the African Charter is that no one should be discriminated against on account of his or her age.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for your response to that question. I hope that this has been helpful to the stakeholder that has asked it. I am looking at the chat. I see that there are no further questions. We are, in any event, drawing to the end of the time that had been allocated for this conference. So in a short while, I'll be drawing this conference to an end. I would just like, before I invite the chairperson to offer his closing remarks, to draw participants and their excellencies' attention to the media advisory that's on the website, the official website of the African Commission on Human People's Rights. You'll find that in that media advisory, there are contact details for any stakeholder, any media entity that wishes to continue interacting with the chairperson with regard to this session and any other matter. There are contact details for more comments if you should wish to have those. There's another contact detail for documentation and materials, and another contact detail for media interviews, should you wish to invite the chair for a media interview. So thank you for this. It is now my pleasure to invite Honorable Chairperson Deso to offer his closing remarks and also to offer a vote of thanks. Thank you, Honorable Chair. You have the floor.
Thank you very much again for the opportunity for us to engage with members of the media, the clothing of our 60 States organization. We look forward to enhancing our engagement and collaboration with members of the media, particularly in the context of the commemoration of the 40th anniversary of the African Charter on Human People's Rights, and indeed as part of our new strategic plan, which opens up new avenues for promoting the work of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the knowledge on the promotion and protection of human rights on the African continent, including as an important instrument in the fight for realizing some of, if not all, the promises of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights for freedom, dignity, justice, and equality for all. I look forward to that engagement of members of the media in the coming months, and we look forward to your active follow-up as well. I also wish to all of you who participated in this session and who asked questions to thank you very much for that. And you, Madam Acting STC, for convening this press briefing as well as facilitating it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and all the best with your families. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you to all of you, interpreters and staff of the Secretariat. Really appreciate it.